Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. We're constantly swimming in information, aren't we?
Uh-huh. Absolutely overwhelming sometimes.
Especially, I find, in the whole world of self-help, spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much out there. It's really easy to get lost, maybe feel like you're drowning a bit in all the different techniques and ideas.
Yeah, conflicting philosophies, different gurus. It's a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So today, we're aiming to cut through some of that noise.
Okay. We're going deep into one specific, really influential work, Matt Kahn's The Universe Has a Plan, A Guide to Letting Go.
Yeah.
A big one in the mind-body-spirit space.
Right. And it claims to offer something pretty bold, doesn't it? Not just, vague philosophy, but a tangible path, maybe even instant emotional relief.
That's the hook, definitely. When you look at where it says self-help, spirituality, the core promise is quite radical. It's this idea of emotional freedom, but through a really clear, almost systematic approach.
Systematic, how so?
Well, Kahn basically argues you can shortcut potentially decades of self-analysis or struggle.
Okay. If you just address the core things weighing you down, he zooms right in on fear, blame, guilt, and this big one, resistance. Resistance. We'll definitely need to unpack that.
Oh, for sure. So this deep dive, our goal is really to pull out that core framework for you, make it efficient to grasp.
And that brings us to your mission, listening in.
Yeah.
I want to give you that shortcut.
Yeah.
We're going to extract the absolute essentials, the core wisdom from the book. We'll walk through the main philosophy, and importantly, we're going to integrate all 10 of his golden rules.
The core methodology, really.
Exactly. So you understand what he's suggesting, but also the why behind it, why these rules are seen as these, shortcuts to feeling better, to inner peace. You get the blueprint.
And the central idea driving it all, the thesis, if you like, is pretty straightforward but profound.
Which is?
Life just works better. There's less turbulence, less internal static when we consciously shift how we operate.
Shift from what to what?
From a default setting of resistance and fear to one based on alignment and love. And it's not just hoping for the best. Kahn presents it as a very active choice you make.
An active choice. Okay, let's dig into that. This huge idea of letting go. What are we actually letting go of here? Right, so letting go, it's the cornerstone of this book, and honestly, so much personal growth stuff, isn't it?
It really is. But it can feel a bit abstract.
Yeah, what does it mean in Kahn's system? What's the actual baggage we're supposed to drop so life can, flow a bit more smoothly? He targets three main things. Fears, naturally, self-judgment, which is huge for many people, and as we mentioned, resistance. Let's focus on resistance then, because you said it was insidious. Why is that the biggest energy drain?
Well, resistance, fundamentally, it's like arguing with what is.
Arguing with reality.
Exactly. It's that internal friction you create when your mind keeps insisting things should be different. What happened in the past, what's happening right now, even worrying about what might happen.
Okay, can you give us a really common, everyday example? Something we might not even clock as resistance. Because I think we often imagine resistance as, fighting some huge life crisis.
Oh, it's usually much smaller, much more frequent. Think about being stuck in traffic.
Okay, yeah.
You didn't plan for it, right?
Yeah.
Your expectation was clear roads. Resistance is that immediate frustration, the anger bubbling up, the mental monologue about how unfair it is, how late you'll be.
That feeling of being completely powerless and just stewing.
That stewing is resistance. It achieves nothing, doesn't move the cars, but it absolutely drains your energy, makes you feel awful.
Okay, that makes sense. What's another one?
Relationships are a huge source. Constantly wishing your partner or your friend or your parent would just act differently, be more like this, less like that.
Trying to change people.
You're resisting their reality, who they are in that moment. And the burden of that effort, that constant low-level battle, it falls entirely on you. It's exhausting.
So resistance is like carrying this heavy backpack, isn't it? Stuffed with old regrets you keep replaying.
Yeah, or failures you haven't forgiven yourself for. Or maybe the most draining thing, constantly worrying about what other people think.
Needing that external validation.
Yeah.
Exactly. And when we resist those feelings, the regret, the fear of judgment, or resist the external reality like the traffic or the person, we're actually holding on to them tighter. We're keeping them active, front and center in our emotional world.
Okay, so there's a kind of psychological mechanism at play here, too.
Definitely. Think about neural pathways. We're creatures of habit. Every time you engage in that resistant thought pattern, this traffic is awful, I shouldn't have said that. Why are they like this?
Yeah.
You're firing up and reinforcing a neural pathway linked to fear, control, and negativity.
So letting go isn't just doing nothing.
Not at all. It's an active choice. It's choosing not to pour your precious emotional energy down that old, worn-out fear and control pathway anymore.
It's deciding to stop creating that internal friction.
Yes. And just allowing reality, the traffic, the past mistake, the other person to be what it is, which in turn frees up all that energy you were wasting fighting it. Okay, so if resistance is the main blockage, the thing gumming up the works,
Yeah.
then the alternative, the solution, must be a completely different way of being. Kahn calls it heart-centered living. What does that actually look like in practice? How is it different from, well, the opposite of fear-centered life?
The contrast is huge, really life-changing when you start to embody it. A fear-centered life that's characterized by suppressing how you really feel.
Pushing emotions down.
Right, and constantly resisting anything unexpected, always trying to maintain control. Think of the classic tightly wound perfectionist that's often fear-driven.
Okay, so heart-centered is the opposite.
Pretty much. It's rooted in compassion for yourself first, then others. It involves radical vulnerability.
Whoa, hang on. Radical vulnerability. Let's pause there because for a lot of people listening, especially maybe high achievers, people using this in, say, a professional context, vulnerability sounds, well, risky.
It does, yeah. It sounds like weakness sometimes.
Right. How does Kahn address that? That opening your heart can sometimes just get you hurt or make you look weak.
That's a really important clarification. Heart-centered living isn't about, like, spilling your deepest secrets to everyone or being emotionally reckless with people who might not be kind.
Okay, good.
It's primarily about establishing internal alignment first. What it means is, when a challenging situation pops up or a difficult emotion arises, sadness, fear, anxiety, you allow yourself to feel it. You let it flow through you instead of immediately suppressing it or fighting it.
Because suppressing it just makes it stick around.
Yeah.
Right, like pushing a beach ball underwater.
Exactly. It solidifies into resistance. But if you acknowledge the feeling internally, just notice it without judgment. There's fear. Okay, sadness is here. You create a little bit of space.
A gap.
A crucial microsecond, really. And in that space, you gain the power to choose a response, ideally a compassionate one, instead of just having a knee-jerk triggered reaction.
So less lashing out, less defensiveness.
Precisely. The outcome is, biologically, less cortisol flooding your system, less chronic anxiety, and practically you get better at navigating tricky interpersonal stuff from a place of, like, emotional sovereignty, owning your feelings, rather than just reacting defensively. So bottom line, you stop fighting your own internal emotional reality.
Yeah. Which then makes it easier to stop fighting the external world quite so much. You got it.
That fundamental shift from internal war to internal allowing sets us up perfectly for the next step. Dismantling those really heavy burdens of guilt and blame. Okay, so we're committed, hypothetically, to this heart-centered path, but then we run smack into these huge internal energy drains, guilt and blame.
The big ones, yeah.
Kahn introduces specific golden rules for these. And the first one, wow, it often sounds almost impossible, especially if you're someone who's really hard on yourself. It does. It's golden rule #1. You've done nothing wrong, right? See, that just sounds wrong somehow. Huh? Yeah, it's the bedrock for releasing that deep systemic guilt that so many people carry. But it's easily misunderstood, so we need to be really clear, please. Because my first thought, and maybe for some listeners too, is, wait a minute. What if I did do something wrong? What if I messed up, hurt someone? Doesn't saying I've done nothing wrong. Just let me off the hook. Where's accountability? That's the critical distinction, and thanks for pushing on it. Rule #1 isn't saying your actions were perfect or didn't have negative consequences. It's not an excuse for bad behavior at all.
Okay, so what is it saying?
It's addressing the identity of being a guilty person, the feeling that you, at your core, are flawed or bad because of past actions. It's an invitation to recognize that, given your level of awareness, your emotional state, the resources you had at that exact moment in time, you did the best you could.
Even if that best wasn't objectively good or had bad outcomes.
Even then, the action itself might absolutely require acknowledgement, apologies, making amends. Accountability is crucial, but rule #1 aims to separate the action from your fundamental essence. It's saying your being isn't wrong or broken.
Okay. So it's about stopping the self-flagellation, the chronic punishment.
Exactly, because that constant self-blame, that identity of I'm bad because I did X, doesn't actually help you learn or grow. It just keeps you stuck, recycling the guilt. If all your energy is tied up in judging your past self.
You have none left to actually learn from it and do better next time.
Precisely. It frees you up to evolve. It replaces that harsh judgment with a necessary dose of self-compassion.
Okay, that separation is key. The action might need fixing, but the self needs understanding.
Yeah.
I like that. So, If we manage, somehow, to start applying that rule, stop attacking ourselves so much internally, what about the attacks from outside? The blame that comes from other people. This leads to rule #2, right?
Yeah.
And you say, this is where it gets really interesting. It really does. Golden rule #2. Blame projections are painful. This shifts the focus outwards. We start analyzing where that external criticism or blame is actually coming from. And Kahn's insight is profoundly liberating, I think. He basically says the source of blame is almost always rooted in the unhappiness or the internal conflict of the person doing the blaming. Wait, say it again? If someone blames me, it's about them.
Largely, yes. When someone is aggressively pointing fingers, projecting fault onto you, Kahn argues that behavior is a reflection of their own internal state.
Like what?
Like their inability to cope with their own pain, maybe their frustration, their fears, maybe a lack of self-compassion for themselves. It's their unresolved stuff spilling out onto you.
So if my boss blames me unfairly for a project going wrong, instead of immediately feeling crushed by guilt or getting defensive, I think I try to see it as maybe their own stress about deadlines or their fear of looking bad to their boss being projected onto me.
Exactly. You start to see it not necessarily as an accurate reflection of your worth or competence, but as a manifestation of their struggle, their suffering.
That feels like putting up an emotional shield.
It is, in a way. Recognizing blame as often being a painful projection stops you from automatically internalizing it, letting it define you. When you stop accepting that external blame as like the absolute truth about yourself,
You keep your balance. You don't get dragged down by it.
right, you maintain your emotional equilibrium much more easily. Think about family dynamics, maybe a parent or sibling who constantly criticizes your choices.
Oh, yeah. That's a common one.
Applying rule #2 means you start to see it less as a valid critique of your life path and more as perhaps a projection of their unfulfilled dreams or their fear of the unknown or their discomfort with choices different from their own.
And just realizing that could free up so much mental energy. The energy I was using to defend myself or just feel wounded.
Massive amounts of energy. And notice the connection back to rule #1.
Ah, yeah. How do they link?
Well, if you've already started to practice rule #1, accepting your own past, showing compassion for your own mistakes and limitations.
Then you're less vulnerable when someone else throws blame your way.
Exactly. You're less likely to believe their projection because you've already started to dismantle your own internal guilt factory. You become more emotionally resilient, unshakable.
It's like building this self-sustaining shield of compassion.
That's a great way to put it. And once that foundation of self-compassion and resilience to external blame is stronger, we're ready to tackle the really big spiritual concept at the heart of the book.
Which is surrender.
Surrender and trusting the bigger picture.
Right on. Right.
So with those blocks of guilt and blame starting to loosen their grip, we get to the real spiritual core, the concept of the universe having a plan.
Okay, this is where, for some listeners, maybe those with a more secular or scientific mindset, alarm bells might start ringing. Universe. Plan.
Totally understandable. We absolutely need to define what universe means in this specific context. It's not necessarily about a specific deity or a traditional religious framework, though it can encompass that for some.
So what does Kahn intend here?
Think of universe in this philosophy as representing an intelligent, underlying, unconditionally loving principle or force guiding your personal evolution.
Evolutionary imperative, almost.
That's a good way to frame it secularly, yeah. A force ensuring that everything, even the painful stuff, the confusion, the setbacks, is ultimately happening for your highest growth, not to you as some kind of random misfortune or punishment.
So the idea is that every circumstance, good or bad, contains the seeds for my next step in learning or emotional growth.
Precisely. It's a fundamental belief system that reframes challenges as opportunities, basically.
Okay, and crucially, you mentioned earlier, this plan isn't about control. We're usually taught success means pushing, planning every detail, controlling outcomes.
Right, and this philosophy flips that script. The plan is about alignment, not control. And the primary action it requires from us isn't more effortful pushing, but rather surrender.
Surrender, another loaded word. What does that entail? Is it just giving up?
No, not passive giving up. It's more complex. Think of it having 3 parts. First, there's the intellectual buy-in, the trust that such a benevolent plan exists.
Okay.
Second, there's the emotional act of releasing your grip on exactly how the plan should unfold or when, letting go of rigid expectations.
You need to micromanage everything.
Yes. And third, there's the faith, the sustained commitment to maintain that trust and release, even when things get turbulent or scary, when you don't see the next step clearly.
So trying to force your specific outcome while also saying you trust the universe's plan is a contradiction.
A total contradiction.
Yeah.
Kahn would say it's like demanding to know how the novel ends while refusing to actually turn the page and read the next chapter.
Yeah.
You have to engage with the unfolding process.
This whole idea of surrender, trust, alignment,
Yeah.
it feels like this is where the other golden rules really come into play, right? They must provide the how-to.
Absolutely. The remaining 8 rules are essentially the practical guidebook for living in that state of surrender and trust. We can maybe group them thematically to see how they build on each other.
Yeah, let's do that. Where do we start?
Let's look at rules 3, 4, and 5. I see these as being about radical self-acceptance and honoring your sensitivity.
Okay. Rule 3. Golden rule, #3. You are always supported. This goes beyond just positive thinking. It's cultivating a deep belief that help, resources, guidance, they're always available. But crucially, that support might show up in unexpected ways. Like how?
Like a seeming failure that redirects you or a door closing that forces you onto a better path. It's trusting the process of support, not just expecting checks in the mail.
Got it. Rule 4. Golden rule, #4. Honor your sensitivity. This is huge, especially today. Kahn strongly argues that being highly sensitive isn't a flaw. It's not something to be medicated away or toughened up. He sees it as a strength.
As a spiritual tool, actually. A finely tuned inner instrument that allows you to perceive subtle energies, deeper truths, and whether you're in or out of alignment more easily than others might. It needs honoring, not suppressing.
Okay. And rule 5 ties back to rule 1. It does. Golden rule, #5. Your journey is perfect. This takes rule 1, you've done nothing wrong, even further. It's about fully embracing your entire life story, the triumphs, the messes, the detours, as the only possible perfect path that could have forged the awareness and wisdom you have right now. No regrets, just acceptance of the whole journey. Wow. So those 3 together, feeling supported, honoring sensitivity, accepting the whole journey, it's about radical self-acceptance, isn't it?
Totally. It stops the internal war against yourself, against how you're wired, against your past. And when you stop wasting energy fighting yourself,
Go is more energy for the present moment. Exactly. Which leads perfectly into the next cluster, Rule 6, 7, and 8, which are all about presence and flow, how we actually engage with life moment by moment. Okay, Rule 6, Golden rule, #6. Embrace change as the only constant. Remember resistance. It hates change. It loves stability, even if it's uncomfortable stability. This rule demands we stop fighting the natural ebb and flow of life. So when things shift, jobs, relationships, health.
alignment means actively looking for the growth hidden within that change, rather than just mourning what was lost or resisting what is. It's working with the current, not against it.
Makes sense. Rule 7. Golden rule, #7. Open to joy now. This combats that common belief that joy is something you earn, like a reward after you've suffered enough or worked hard enough, like I'll be happy when.
Exactly. Kahn says joy is an available state right now. It's a choice you can make in how you respond to the present. It's also a vital resource. Finding moments of joy actually helps you navigate the difficult times better. It fuels resilience.
Choose joy in the now. Okay. And rule 8 sounds very practical. It is. Golden rule, #8.
Yeah.
Your intuition is your GPS. This is the direct application of trusting the plan. If the universe, or your evolutionary potential, has a direction for you, how does it communicate? Through gut feelings.
Synchronicities.
Your inner wisdom, your intuition. This rule says you need to learn to trust that above all the external noise experts, social media approval, even well-meaning family advice, constantly seeking external permission or direction is essentially rejecting your own built-in guidance system.
Okay, so rules 3 to 8 seem focused on transforming our internal landscape, self-acceptance, presence, self-trust. Where do the last 2 rules take us?
They shift the focus slightly outwards. Rules 9 and 10 are about our connection and contribution to the world.
Rule 9. Golden rule, #9. Focus on service. As your own internal struggles lessen, as you heal through applying the other rules, Kahn suggests the focus naturally shifts. It moves from what can I get or how can I fix myself towards what can I contribute? Service, but not like martyrdom. No, definitely not. It's more about recognizing that the very things you struggled with and healed your wounds often become the source of your deepest empathy and your most valuable gifts to offer others. Your experience becomes your service.
That's powerful. And the final one, Rule 10. Golden rule, #10. Love is the ultimate truth. This really synthesizes the entire philosophy. It posits that underneath all the illusions, the fear, the guilt, the blame, the resistance, the fundamental reality of existence is unconditional love. So that becomes the ultimate reference point.
The touchstone for every choice, every response. Does this come from love or does it come from fear? Choosing love again and again is the ultimate practice.
Okay, wow. So pulling it all together, the so what for someone listening, the real benefit of internalizing these 10 rules.
I think it's a profound shift in faith. Faith in yourself, faith in the process of life itself, instead of feeling constantly battered and blindsided by challenges.
You start to see them differently, like necessary steps.
Exactly. Necessary chapters in your unique unfolding story of growth. You develop this underlying trust that even in the turbulence, things are working out for your evolution. But, and this is so important, we can't just leave it at philosophy. Kahn is very clear that knowing the rules intellectually is step one. Step two, the crucial part, is integrating them into daily life.
Right, because it's one thing to nod along and say, yeah, rule #1, I've done nothing wrong. Sounds good.
Uh-huh.
But then 5 minutes later, your inner critic pipes up with, you idiot, why did you say that? And bam, the guilt is right back.
Totally. The default programming is strong.
So how do you actually do it? What are the practical tools Kahn offers to bridge that gap, to actually rewire those old responses? We need the specifics here.
Okay, the primary toolkit revolves around focused, targeted mantras and specific reflective practices.
Mantras like affirmations.
Similar, but maybe more active. They're designed less as just positive statements and more as pattern interrupts. Tools to deploy in the moment when the old pattern kicks in.
Okay, give me an example for that inner critic moment. A really powerful, simple one he emphasizes is, when that self-judging thought arises, you immediately, gently, internally repeat the phrase, I love you. I love you no matter what. Just, I love you. To yourself.
To yourself, directed at the part of you that feels flawed or is criticizing. It sounds maybe simple or even cheesy at first, but deployed consistently right when the self-attack starts.
It interrupts the usual flow.
Precisely. Well, think of that neural pathway again. The I failed, therefore I am bad thought has a well-worn groove in your brain. The mantra acts like throwing a sudden roadblock onto that track.
And forces the brain to go somewhere else.
It forces the brain to initiate a different pathway, one wired for compassion, acceptance, unconditional love. It's the neuropsychology piece again. The more often you interrupt the old fear-guilt loop with this new heart-centered response.
The weaker the old track gets and the stronger the new one becomes. Like building muscle.
Exactly like building muscle. Other tools include things like specific reflective journaling prompts,
Like what?
questions designed to help you spot your resistance in action. For example, ending your day asking, where did I argue with reality today? Where did I try to control something uncontrollable?
Making it conscious.
Yes. And visualization exercises, too, aimed at anchoring the feeling of surrender or trust in your body, not just understanding it intellectually.
Okay, so there are practical tools. But this brings us back to some potential challenges or criticisms. We mentioned the secular challenge earlier. What about the listener who hears universe, energy, soul, and just tunes out?
It's a really valid point of friction, and I think the key is reframing the language without losing the core functional message.
How would you do that?
Instead of universe, you could substitute a concept like evolutionary potential, or the natural unfolding of cause and effect, or even just life's process.
Okay. The fundamental operational principle remains the same. Choosing acceptance and non-resistance tends to lead to better internal states and more effective external action than choosing control and resistance. You don't need the spiritual overlay to see the psychological benefit and the practices, the mantras, the reflection.
Those can be viewed purely as psychological conditioning tools, techniques to reduce self-sabotage, manage emotional reactivity, and improve focus and resilience by intentionally rewiring thought patterns. You can strip away the spiritual language and still find immense practical value in the how-to. Makes sense. Then there's the other big challenge, implementation reality. The book itself, you said, is clear this isn't a quick fix. Absolutely not.
So if someone's battling, say, decades of deeply ingrained anxiety or self-criticism, how much effort are we talking? How much patience is required?
A huge amount of both. Honestly, this is where many self-help approaches fall short. They overpromise instant transformation. Kahn is refreshingly realistic. Implementing these 10 golden rules, truly embodying them, takes rigorous, consistent daily practice. Letting go of a lifetime habit of resistance. That's a choice you might literally have to make hundreds of times a day, especially when you're starting out. Catching yourself, applying the mantra, choosing the compassionate response instead of the habitual fear one.
So the mistake is thinking reading the book equals doing the work.
Big mistake. The success hinges not on some heroic burst of willpower, but on gentle, sustained persistence. It's the willingness to just keep choosing the heart-centered way again and again and again, even and especially when the old way feels easier or more familiar in the moment. That persistence, that active choosing, leads us to probably the most crucial balancing act for anyone trying this.
Yeah.
You emphasized it earlier, the difference between healthy surrender and just giving up. Passivity, yes. This distinction is absolutely critical, non-negotiable, really.
Because the whole philosophy leans so heavily on letting go of control, trusting the plan, it seems easy to slip into just becoming passive, right?
Yeah.
Especially when things get tough.
It's a real danger. Someone might misinterpret surrender as, okay, I guess I don't need to try anymore, or avoid making difficult decisions, or stop taking necessary actions in their life.
So what is true? Healthy surrender in Kahn's framework.
True surrender is pairing trust in the ultimate outcome's perfection with maximizing your aligned effort in the present moment.
Aligned effort.
Meaning, taking the actions that feel intuitively right, that come from a place of love or service or inner wisdom, rule #8, rather than actions driven by panic, fear, or the need to control. Surrender is not an abdication of responsibility or effort.
Okay, let's make that concrete. Use a scenario. Say I'm facing a major financial challenge, potential job loss, big unexpected bills.
Okay.
Surrender in that situation doesn't mean sitting on the couch meditating, waiting for money to magically appear, does it? Absolutely not. That would be passivity. True surrender in that scenario looks like this. You actively do everything within your power that feels aligned. Like what?
Like updating your resume, networking, creating a strict budget, seeking financial advice, negotiating with creditors, exploring all possible income streams. You take all the practical, grounded actions.
Okay, so where does the surrender come in?
The surrender comes in releasing the crippling anxiety about the outcome, releasing the rigid attachment to things resolving on your specific preferred timeline, releasing the need to control every single variable.
So you do the work, but you let go of the desperate need for it to turn out exactly how you planned.
Yes, you trust that your aligned efforts, combined with the universe's plan or life's process, will lead to the necessary next step, the right outcome, or perhaps even a difficult but necessary lesson for your growth. You act fully, but without the fear-based panic.
Because action driven by panic leads to burnout and bad decisions. Whereas action driven by trust and alignment, that heart-centered place is usually more sustainable, more creative, and ultimately more effective. It's a powerful balance. Empowered action coupled with emotional release.
Right.
Exactly. Whereas action driven by trust and alignment, that heart-centered place is usually more sustainable, more creative, and ultimately more effective. It's a powerful balance. Hashtag tag outro. Okay, what a journey. We've really dug deep into this framework for emotional freedom from Matt Kahn's work. We've covered why letting go is so central, unpacked those 10 golden rules, and looked at the practicalities and challenges of actually living this stuff.
Yeah, from understanding resistance to the power of self-compassion, the illusion of blame, and that crucial balance of action and surrender.
And for you listening, the potential takeaway here is significant, isn't it? If you engage with these ideas, the promise is a real increase in emotional freedom, feeling less weighed down by, well, by the past, by self-criticism, by what other people think.
Definitely. Committing to that heart-centered approach, even incrementally, tends to quiet the internal noise, leading to a more peaceful inner state. And you walk away not just with the philosophy, but with that blueprint, the 10 rules and actual tools like the mantras.
Tools that give you a better shot at responding to life's stresses and conflicts from a place of maybe compassion and conscious choice.
Instead of just reacting from those old defaults of fear or blame or shame, it's about reclaiming your responsibility.
So we always like to leave you with a final thought to chew on, something building on our discussion.
Right, and it comes back to that tension we just explored, action versus trust, surrender versus passivity.
If letting go of control and surrendering to a plan truly is key to inner peace, how do you in your own life monitor yourself? How do you consistently tell the difference between true healthy surrender, that act of faith that actually frees up energy for aligned action, and simply giving up, becoming complacent, or avoiding effort when a challenge genuinely requires you to step up?
Yeah, what's the line for you? Where does trust become an excuse for inaction? We'd really encourage you to think about where your own resistance shows up most strongly. Is it that inner voice of blame or judgment? Is it the constant external striving for control? Or maybe it's difficulty honoring your own sensitivity, your own intuition?
Because that point of friction, wherever it is for you, that's likely your starting point. That's precisely where your personal path to authentic letting go and maybe greater peace has to begin.
Something to reflect on.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.